threat from climate change is serious, it is urgent, and it is growing.
Yeah, I've been hearing that now for years. I'm skeptical that the threat is urgent. But there is a threat. A lot of climatologists do say they're worried. And soon after Obama took office, the EPA ruled that carbon dioxide, CO2, there's some, is a dangerous chemical and therefore needs to be regulated by them. So now some businesses are saying, no, that'll essentially make thousands of jobs illegal. And it's now in court. So let's go to a legal expert about that. No, let's not, because legal experts bore me to death. Let's go to a weather expert. Climatologist Roy Spencer. He's the real deal. His work's funded by NASA and the Department of Energy. You're the guy who collects the measurements in the atmosphere?
That's right. We started a third of a century ago. We started monitoring global temperatures from satellites.
And you found that it's warming.
It has warmed in the last 33 years. For some reason, it stopped warming in the last 10 years, which is one of those dirty little secrets of global warming science.
But greenhouse gases are a real threat. People do worry about them. Why not, as the EPA says, regulate carbon dioxide?
Well, I'm considered a lukewarmer on this issue. In other words, I'm one of those scientists that think that adding CO2 to the atmosphere should cause some amount of warming. The question is, how much? Some scientists, the ones you hear about in the news, think it's dangerous, that there's going to be uncontrollable warming in the future. I think that most of the warming we've seen could well be natural, and that we may see very little warming in the future. So really, whether we do anything about CO2 comes down to whether there is enough out there to be a threat to human health and welfare, which is sort of what the EPA tries to regulate.
And you don't think there is?
No, I don't think there is. In fact, if you look at this from this economic standpoint, if you try to regulate CO2, try to reduce how much CO2 is being produced, the trouble is that virtually all human activities requires the production of CO2. Virtually all of the energy we use is carbon-based fuel, which produces CO2, the necessary byproduct. There's no easy way to remove it, like there is with sulfur dioxide. They put scrubbers on the smokestacks, on coal-fired power plants. You know, they can get rid of most of that fairly easy. There's no way to get rid of the CO2.
To shut down CO2 is to shut down civilization.
Exactly. That's right. If we shut down and regulate CO2, we're basically outlawing all jobs, not just the jobs that you've talked about in your other segments, but everything.
And even if we successfully somehow could do this in the United States, would it make any real difference in terms of global warming, even assuming the alarmist claims are accurate?
No, and that's one of the things that isn't often pointed out. We're talking about forestalling maybe hundredths of a degree, a few hundredths of a degree per decade of warming, just based on the U.S. shutting down half of its economy. That, as someone who measures global temperatures, I can tell you that's in the noise level. We can't measure to better than a few hundredths of a degree C per decade. So basically, that kind of effort would lead to an unmeasurable decrease in global temperatures.
So why do they push that so hard? They know that it'll kill jobs, don't they?
Well, as an ex-government employee, I can tell you that, you know, the first job of a government employee is to keep his job. So if your job is to regulate, then you do your best to regulate as much as you can, I guess.
The other thing the EPA wants to do is reduce fine particle pollution. We already have some rules, and some of it's good. There used to be soot everywhere. But they want to go further.
That's right. What they're mainly interested in is called fine particulate matter, little tiny particles that are much smaller than the width of a human hair. This is something that the EPA recently decided that there is no safe level of, okay? Even though the World Health Organization says there is a safe level, like most of the western United States is safe. Is already at safe levels.
And you gave us this map. What does this show?
It's created from a NASA satellite that I'm involved with. In this case, it's a plot of fine particulate matter, this particle pollution that the EPA wants to regulate,
which
down to nothing.
As the red.
Yes, the largest amounts are in red, and as you can tell, where most of the most dangerous amounts are is where virtually no one lives. And the point here is that Most of this stuff is being produced naturally by nature.
And regulating in the United States, again, will make almost no difference.
Well, we've already got regulations in place, and fine particulate matter has already been cleaned up quite a bit. It just is that the EPA is on a track to try to reduce the emissions of it to zero, and that's physically impossible. It's physically impossible, and it's stupid since nature is producing it anyway.
And finally, speaking of stupid, let's say we have some global warming. This catastrophe about it, that we should shut down the economy for it. You say we don't know that it will be harmful?
Well, that's right. Because CO2 is necessary for life on Earth, because it's the start of the food chain on land and in the oceans.
Inhale.
Yeah, that's right.
Give them some more.
That more CO2 in the atmosphere might actually be good for life on Earth. And that's something that seems to be verboten for scientists to say. I'm not afraid to say it because an objective scientist should look at both sides. And there are benefits to more CO2 in the atmosphere and probably to a little bit of warming.
And there's certainly no benefit to huge amounts of regulation that just crush jobs. Thank you, climatologist Roy Spencer. Coming up, my take on illegal jobs and how government sucks the life out of people.